Hey, it's Katie, and welcome back to my booktube channel. So for today's video, I will be doing a spoiler-free review of From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And then after my review, I will give you guys a warning, but I also did a reading vlog for this that does contain spoilers, so if you're interested in that, you can go ahead and keep watching the rest of the video. But first, let's jump into the review. So even though I am really late to the party and I didn't read this book until now, I somehow managed to avoid all spoilers about it. And honestly, even though it was on my TBR from the second I saw this cover, I had no idea what it was about, and I didn't even read the synopsis before I started reading it. All I knew was that we had a character named Poppy who is a maiden, and basically all I knew about her was kind of what this says, which is that she's never to be touched, looked upon, spoken to, or to experience pleasure. And so I knew we had her, and then I knew we had Hawk, who was supposed to guard her. And that's really all I knew going into it, and I kind of liked not really knowing a lot about it because I ended up really enjoying a lot of elements that kind of surprised me because they were very different from my expectations. Also, I was terrified to start this series because it's so hyped up. You literally see it on any platform in the book community. Everybody's talked about it. Everybody has either read it or has owned it. And I've heard so many amazing things about it, but that always makes me nervous because I feel like I'm going to be one of the few people that dislike it for some reason. And I'm so glad that that was not the case because I ended up giving this 5 stars. I enjoyed it so much. I literally read it in one day, which this is a big book. It's 600-700 pages, something like that. Yeah, it's 600 pages. So I was very surprised I finished it in one day, but I genuinely could not put it down. I've always really loved Jennifer L. Armentrout's writing. When I was a lot younger, maybe in middle school or high school, I read her series about aliens. She might have a couple. I don't know. She has a lot more series than I was expecting when I'm looking in the front of this book. But I read the one with obsidian and onyx and all that stuff. The Luck series, yes. I read that series when I was younger. I loved it. It was one of my favorite series for the longest time. And then I didn't pick up another one of her books until recently when I read Storm and Fury. And I read the first book in that series, and I also really enjoyed it. So I really figured that I would like this too, and I really did. This was probably my favorite book that I've read of hers. And her writing is so great because it's so captivating and descriptive, but it's done in a way where it's still fun to read and really easy to understand. And I really appreciated that because for some reason, because of the vibe of this book, with Poppy being a maiden and all of that, I expected there to be older English. I expected the writing to be a lot harder to understand and for me to actually have to really focus to read it. And I was really glad that wasn't the case. They used a lot of, it's a more modern version of what I was expecting, but it still fit the fantasy vibe. So I really enjoyed that. Another thing that was very different from what I expected was Poppy. She literally constantly surprised me in this book because since she's a maiden, in my head, I'm thinking she's this super pure, super tame character, and I feel like she's just locked up in this room and she doesn't really do much with her life. That's how I expected her to be at the beginning. But she's honestly a firecracker. She is so amazing, such a fun heroine to read about. She's super brave and badass and fierce and everything you could ever want, but she's also still very kind and caring to all the people around her, and it's such a good combination. And like I said, she literally surprised me so many times throughout this book, and I'm so excited to see how she grows throughout the rest of the series. So our other main character is obviously Hawk, and he is such an intriguing character. He's just so self-assured, he's charming and arrogant, and he's fiercely protective, and he really knows what he wants. And that's another fun character to read about. I always love when there's a character who's super, I wouldn't say he's cocky, but he kind of is sometimes, but he just has this vibe, when he walks into a room, it's he knows what he's doing. He commands everybody's attention, and I always think that's such a fun character to read. And of course, I loved all of the scenes where Hawk and Poppy interacted. They were so interesting and electrifying and everything I hoped for in this book. I really, really loved the vibe that they had together. I feel like this book had the perfect combination of action and romance and suspense and plot twists that blew my mind, and everything I ever look for in a fantasy, and like so many more elements that I can't even put into words. I just genuinely loved this book. I still can't believe I read it all in one day. Like, it's 600 pages. I'm not sure how I did that. It's like all I did the day that I read it. The only problem I have with this book is that I got this from the library, and that means I have to give it back. And also, I am like on a wait list for the 2 sequels that are out, and it's going to take months for me to get them. And that hurts me because I want to know what happens so bad. It ended with like this plot twist, kind of. Like, I kind of saw a little bit of it coming, but it ended with the plot twist, and I didn't know that was the last chapter. And I turned the page and it went on to like the little, like the author's note and all of that, and I was not ready to say goodbye to Poppy and Hawk and to this world. And I'm so sad I have to wait so long for the other books. And you're probably thinking, just go out and buy the series. And I would, except for the fact that I already bought the Fairy Loot exclusive editions. So those are going to be absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to get my hands on them. But I don't think they ship until like June or July. So I'm just in this like crappy place where I can't, because I don't want to buy another version of the books, and I've already spent a lot of money on those. So now I just have to be patient, which I'm a very impatient person, so it's a little sad. But moral of the story, I gave this 5 stars. I think it's 1000% worth the hype. And it is a very like romance-focused story, I think. There's a lot of other things going on too. There's a lot of like action and all that kind of stuff as well. But if you aren't into books with a lot of romance, maybe this won't be for you. But I'm obsessed with, like, my books have to have romance in them, so I loved it. And I highly recommend it to you guys. It's so good. I'm sure you've heard all about it, so I highly doubt I'm the first person to tell you guys about it. But that is the end of the spoiler-free portion. So if you've already read it, or if you don't care about spoilers, feel free to continue, because I filmed my reactions while I was reading it in a reading vlog, so we will just jump to the first clip. Gotta do it before I get too stressed. Hey guys, it is around 1:30 and I finally started reading From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I'm about 50 pages in, so I wanted to kind of give you guys my initial thoughts about it. And also, it's a very gloomy day today, so I feel like I'm going to be able to read a good chunk of this. Ideally, I'd be able to read this whole book today, but I don't know if that's going to happen because it's like 600 pages, and that's a lot. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. I knew this was a high fantasy, so I'm really enjoying that, but I really expected it to have more of like a historical vibe to it. Like, for some reason, like, with my limited knowledge of what it was about, I thought they were going to use a lot of like, not old English, but use like older vocabulary, but the writing is very easy to understand still, and it feels a little bit more modern than what I was expecting. So I'm really appreciating that, because I was kind of worried I wouldn't be able to really understand a lot of the descriptions. So I love that the writing is very easy to understand. I've always loved Jennifer L. Armentrout's writing, and it's really enjoyable. And so far, I'm really liking the characters. We've already met Hawk. Well, obviously, okay, we met Poppy, obviously, because it's told from her perspective. And I'm really enjoying her character. And it's such an interesting concept that she's this maiden who's supposed to remain pure and, like, can't touch anybody, or, like, what does it say? Never to be touched, looked upon, spoken to, or experience pleasure. So, like, that's a lot of things to not do. Like, that has to be a boring life. So I love that it starts out with her kind of, like, sneaking out of wherever she's supposed to be and doing all these things she's not supposed to be doing. I think that's really cool. And I really love that we've already met Hawk, because I knew that we were going to meet him at some point, obviously, because it mentions him in the synopsis. But I thought it was going to be like a few more chapters in before we ever even saw him. But they've already interacted, and I love that. It's only like 2 chapters in. They've already interacted, and he is a lot less broody than I was expecting. I mean, maybe later, once he realizes who she is and that he probably shouldn't be hanging out with her, I'm sure, you know, we'll get that side of him. But I expected him to be a little more rude and a little less fun and flirty, so we will see, but I am really enjoying it so far. So I will see you guys, I don't know, maybe when I get 100 pages in, or we'll see. But I will see you guys soon, and I will update you on my thoughts. It is now about 2 o'clock, and I'm officially 100 pages in, and I'm still enjoying it. I don't really know what I expected Poppy to do on a daily basis. I kind of thought she was going to be stuck in her room, or like in this little tower thing, but so far she's barely been in her room. She's been doing a lot of things, and I did not expect that. Like when she went with, oh man, what's his name? I already forgot. I don't know, I can't find it. But when they went to that person's house to basically kill the guy that was cursed, and it's interesting because you get to see more of her powers. Like, again, I also didn't expect her to have powers. I know this is a fantasy, but apparently I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It's very interesting that she can sense what people are feeling physically but also emotionally, and I think that's really cool. And also the fact that she was able to kind of plant happy memories in that woman's brain so she would stop suffering and would feel at peace for a little bit is very, very interesting. I'm excited to see what else Poppy's powers are, or like how she uses them in the future. And also we just met that lord that stopped her while she was on her night walk, and he is creepy. He's gross. I don't like him, and I don't like that he was using his power and status to like force her to do things that she was uncomfortable with. And it's messed up because no matter what she did, she was kind of screwed. Like, she wasn't supposed to be there talking to him and letting him touch her because she's a maiden. But if she fought back, then she would still be punished because of his status and his relationship with the Duke. And that's messed up. And I'm sure we'll see him again, but I really hope we don't have to because I don't like him. But that's how I'm feeling right now. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading because I'm loving it. It's only been like 15 minutes since my last update, but this is intense. Like, Rylan took Poppy on the walk like they always do, and then he got shot with an arrow and he's dead. And I know, like, we haven't known him for very long. It's only like 120 pages in, but it still hurts. I liked him. He seemed so sweet and, I don't know, like a lot of fun. And he seemed like a good friend to Poppy, and now he's dead. And then they tried to like kidnap her kind of, and I don't know who's trying to kidnap her, but she fought back, which was great. I was very proud of her. That little dagger came in handy, but it was a lot, and I didn't expect this much action this soon because it says she's never supposed to like touch anybody or talk to anybody, and she's doing a lot of both of those things, so maybe I just don't understand her role 100% yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. But it's crazy. Things are already going down. We're only like 100 pages in, so I don't think I was prepared. I literally only read like 5 more pages, but I finally understand where the title came from. I love when there's like a reference to the title in the book and then it all like starts to make sense. It's on page 134 and it talks about the Dark One's promise, which is from Blood and Ash, we shall rise. And that's really all I wanted to say, that I love title references, and we got one early on, so I'm very happy. Okay, so it is about 3 o'clock, and I'm like 180 pages in, and I'm really glad that we finally got to see Hawk again, because since the first time I mentioned him, he wasn't in the story, and so he's finally back, and he is now officially Poppy's guard, which is exciting. And he got to see her face for the first time, which like most people never get to see. So that was an interesting scene. He just kind of stared at her for a while. And then he took his vow, and it sounded kind of more like a marriage vow than one a guard would take. Because also she mentions that it's a different vow than what her other guards said. But his vow said, with my sword and with my life, I vow to keep you safe. From this moment until the last moment, I am yours. So, you know, now maybe one day they'll fall in love and make babies or something. I don't know. But definitely sounded more like a marriage vow than I was expecting. And I was like, okay, I see you. But I'm excited
because that means we'll get to see each other a lot more, and she's still trying not to speak, because once she speaks, he will realize that she is the person that he kissed when they first met, and that will complicate things. So we'll see what's gonna happen, but I'm loving it. I'm gonna take a little snack break, and then I will see you guys maybe in like an hour. I don't know, we'll see. Hey guys, it has been a few hours. I played some Mario Kart and I took a snack break. I actually had some Dunkaroos. I don't know if you guys remember those, but I haven't seen any in so long because I think they were like discontinued, but then I got one as like a gift and it was so good. So I think they're coming out with chocolate ones this summer and I can't wait because those are my favorites. Totally off topic, but I just wanted to let you know. I'm very excited. But I ended up reading some more. I'm now on page like 270 and I feel like so much has happened. So I'm trying to think the last thing I told you guys. So Poppy was taken to the Duke to learn a lesson, which was her being beaten essentially, and it was horrifying. And I love how perceptive Hawk is because he knew something was up and went and got Victor. So I really like that he can see through her crap and he's just very observant. And then also we had the Mist and the Craven attack. I think they're called Cravens. I don't know. Yeah. The Craven attack where Poppy went out onto the rise and started shooting them with a bow and arrow, which is totally badass. I really did not expect her to be so brave and so willing to fight and defend people. Like, I know in the synopsis it says she wants to, like, she'd rather fight in the war and, like, help all these people. But I never knew that she would have this kind of training. You know, because she's a maiden, I assumed she'd be very pure, like, wouldn't really leave her room, would be very chill. But she is a firecracker. That's such a weird term. But, like, I don't know. She's just so passionate and strong and willing to go down to save the people that she cares about. And I absolutely love that about her. And also, because she was out there, Hawk just found out that she was the same. Well, I guess he didn't just find out. He already knew that Poppy was the same person he saw at the red, what's it called? I really should remember these things a little better. I just read it. But at that place where they met at the beginning. I can't remember what it's called. But he already knew that that was the same person. Like, as soon as she was unveiled, he connected the dots. But he didn't say anything, which I'm glad he didn't, you know, get her in trouble. But he just told her basically that he's known the whole time. And then after they got back to the room, he, like, went in and confronted her and asked her a bunch of questions. So I don't know. I'm very excited. I also loved that at the end of the chapter, he told her to, like, wear different slippers and, like, thicker clothing next time because the slippers are likely to be the death of you and that dress the death of me. So he's still very flirtatious, even though he knows that she's the maiden. And I really thought that would make him try not to talk to her or look at her, but apparently he's not afraid. So I'm very curious to see where this leads, but I'm still loving it. It is now about 8 o'clock and I'm on page 380, so I feel like I've gotten a lot done since I saw you guys last. But this is still so good. I love all of the Hawk and Poppy scenes, which is, you know, a good chunk of the book, obviously. And I'm so glad. I love both of them together, like, so much. But I loved that when I think she's a priestess, when she tried to hit Poppy, he went in and stopped it from happening. I love that he's not afraid to protect her. He's not afraid to, like, go spend time with her alone, even though he probably should be because there's a lot of rules. But they went to the right, is that what it's called? I should create, like, a little vocabulary list. Yeah. So they went to the right and she was able to wear her mask, like, when they first met. And then he, instead of walking her back to the room, they went out to the garden and under the willow tree and things went down and it was hot and I was here for it. And I was obsessed with that scene. Although it is really awkward that Victor was there and now he's pissed off and that's a little awkward. It's like your dad walking in on you and your significant other, like, doing something. definitely not what either of them wanted to happen. But Hawk is like too confident in himself. Like he was definitely like egging Victor on and being like, fine, I'm not gonna back down, you need to back down, and the only reason you're not on the ground already is because I don't want to hurt Poppy. I don't know if that was English. I think I'm so into this book that sometimes I go to like express my feelings and I forget how to talk. So hopefully that made sense. But as you could tell, I am definitely loving it, and I'm more than halfway done, and I don't want it to be over because I got this from the library and I have the second one on hold, but I think I'm like 12th in line for it, so it's going to take forever for me to get the sequel, and that makes me really sad. And I also ordered the Fairy Loot special editions of them, but I don't think that's shipping until like June or July. So it's going to be torture to wait for that. I might just reread this before getting the other ones because I'm loving it. And I love Poppy and Hawk. And I honestly wish I could annotate it. I wanted to go through with little tabs, but then I remembered it's a library book and that would be kind of pointless. But I'm really, really enjoying it so far, and it's definitely living up to the hype, and I'm definitely here for it. It's only 20 pages since I last saw you guys, but a lot has gone down in those 20 pages, and it's a lot to cope with. We've had the Duke's death, which I was kind of celebrating, which might sound terrible, but I didn't like him. There's no good part of him as a character, I guess. I mean, he's just beating Poppy whenever he feels like, and he didn't feel any remorse. I don't know. I just didn't like him. So I was kind of excited that he was dead, as twisted as that is. And then Poppy helped defend everybody locked in that room while they were hiding from the attack. It was her and Victor protecting everybody. And then the Lord still had the audacity to comment on how she's not a very good maiden if she has those skills to kill people. And it's like, she's saving your life. You almost died, but you're still being an ass. Okay. And then they were leaving the room, and now Victor's dead, and that one hurt. Like, I was really sad when Rylan died at the beginning, but we had only known him for a couple chapters. But I really liked Victor. He was like her fatherly figure, and I'm very sad about it. But then after that, because the Lord made a dumb comment, then Poppy just murdered him, just chopped him into a bunch of pieces. And that's really grotesque, but I can't say that I'm not here for it. Like, he was my least favorite character, so kind of proud of her, but also kind of worried about her now that she lost Victor. And I'm glad that Hawk kind of pulled her away, and hopefully he's there for her, but not really sure who she will be as a person after this and how much she'll change. But I can't believe how much just went down in 20 pages. Like, it's crazy. And I'm also not used to reading books where that many characters die, so I don't think I'm ready for the rest of the series, if this is any indication. Okay guys, it is about 10:30 and I am on page 460, so I've read like 50 to 100 pages since I last saw you guys. I've had dinner, I took a long break, but I have been loving it, so I went on my library account to put the other books on hold, and I was putting the third one on hold, and I accidentally read some of the synopsis because my eyes were just skimming, and I saw that the name of the person she is, in love with is not Hawk. And I essentially ruined this book for me. And now I feel like I can't trust him and I can't enjoy any of their scenes together. And I'm so upset because this book's been out for like at least a year, I think. And I've done so well with not seeing any spoilers. I haven't watched any videos. I try to avoid all posts about it. Like, I haven't seen any spoilers. I did not know anything about this book going into it. And I ruined it while I'm in the middle of it. Like, why? Why did this happen to me? So I'm upset. And now every time they're together, I can't trust him, and it's really sad. Like, they just had, okay, so they're on their way to the Capitol. So, like, Poppy and Hawk are, like, on the same horse together, and, like, all the other people are there, and so they had to, like, camp out in the woods, and so they were in the same tent, and, like, if you know, things went down in there. And I enjoyed it, but I couldn't enjoy it to the fullest because the whole time I'm like, he's playing with my emotions, And the fact that the next morning, Kieran was like, remember your job. Now that I know that they probably aren't going to end up together, now I know he's going to betray her. And I'm just sad. I feel a little broken. Because I really like him as a character. And I know there's been like little things that have been planted in our heads along the way that are like, hey, maybe don't trust him right away. But I really wanted to trust him. And now Poppy just like reached out with her powers and felt like confusion and him being conflicted. And also there was like another attack, and so somebody was dying and she was trying to send him like peaceful thoughts while he died. And so now Hawk and everybody else in that little group knows that she has like the touch or whatever they call it. And so that's not good because that's something else that he can use against her. And I'm just so sad. But it's so good. And I'm really hoping I can finish this before I have to go to bed. But I'm not sure. So I'm going to stop talking and keep reading. And hopefully I can finish it tonight. Alright, so I am almost 500 pages in. And I don't feel as bad about spoiling things for myself because I feel like Hawk is now doing a couple things that are, I don't know if sketchy is the right word, but that they would plant doubt in my brain no matter what I knew going into it. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself to make it hurt less that I spoiled it. But they're in like a town now to rest for the night, and he said he'd only been there briefly, but then he knew the name of somebody working at the little hotel. It's not a hotel, but the place that they're staying at. And Poppy was like, that's a little weird. And now they just had sex, and at the end he said, promise me you won't forget this, Poppy, that no matter what happens tomorrow, the next day, next week, you won't forget this. Forget that this was real. Like, why would you say that if you're being trustworthy? Like, obviously there's something else going on. So I think at that point I would have been like, something's up. So I don't feel as bad, I think. I'm still sad about it, but at least I don't feel like I ruined the book for myself, But the sex scene was something. Maybe I should just call it smut. I feel like calling it a sex scene is very like, I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't admit that I'm reading sex scenes. Out loud at least. Anyway, the smut in chapter 33. It works for me. Just gonna leave it at that. See you later. I don't really remember the last time that I saw you guys, but I'm on page like 550, and a lot has gone down. So they were at that inn, hotel, whatever, and one of the other guards, Phillips, was like, hey, things are really sketchy here, and like these people have gone missing, and I don't think we can trust Kieran and Hawk, and tried to like get her to sneak out, but she still trusted Hawk. And then Kieran turned into a wolven, which we all thought was extinct, and that was a whole time. And then Hawk came to save the day, but then killed Phillips and the other people trying to help Poppy escape. And now they like took her, and everybody wants her dead except for Hawk. He's like, no, nobody touch her, we're gonna keep her alive. And I knew we couldn't trust him, but like, that was real extra. Like, why'd you have to kill a bunch of people? And now you're keeping her chained up. But he explained, like, the history that Poppy thought she knew. And what the truth really is. And how screwed up all of the Ascendeds really are. And he's one of those... It's the other A word that I keep getting mixed up with Ascended. The ones with the two fangs. Those people. Which I didn't see coming. Like, I figured he was working for, like, the Dark One, or I thought maybe he was the Dark One, or something like that, but I didn't think he would be one of those things. Atlantian? I can't pronounce it. Now that I know what it is, I still can't say it. But I was not expecting that. So, that's very interesting. I'm also very tired, so I'm not forming complete sentences, and that's okay. But there's a lot happening. And he keeps telling her that, like, not everything was alive. But it's like, at this point, does it matter? Like, I mean, yes, it kind of does. But, like, we can't trust you. We can't like you anymore. I'm sorry. You're done. Like, no. I'm just frustrated. I'm tired. And I really want to read the rest of this. I have, like, less than 100 pages. So I'm going to try to finish it tonight. It's like 11:30. So hopefully I can squeeze it in. Okay, so it is midnight and I'm on page 590, so I only have like 20 or 30 pages left, and I'm excited that I'm definitely going to finish it tonight, so I will have read this in one day, which is crazy because it's like 600 pages. But I feel like so much has happened since I last saw you guys, and it hasn't even been that long. And I love that there's so much going on with the plot in here, and like so many plot twists and like battle scenes. But since I saw you guys last, because I think Poppy was she was like chained up when I said things last to you guys. And since Hawk went to meet with somebody, people tried to kill her. But I think their names were Delano and Niall. Actually tried to defend her and keep her alive, which I was very surprised because they made it sound like everybody else other than Hawk wanted her to die. And so I was very excited that she had some allies because she already like almost died trying to fend everybody off. But they're really sweet, and I think they both survived, so that's good. I wonder if we'll see them more in books 2 and 3. I have no idea. But since then, Hawk had given her some of his blood, which healed her. I'm excited to learn more about his powers and how all of that works because it reminds me of like vampires. But I still feel like I have a lot to learn. So that was really interesting, and she has a lot of questions, and he's trying to like explain things to her, but she's still like pissed off. And then she tried to kill him, which I was surprised. I was like, go Poppy, like good for you. Like I didn't think she would actually kill him, but you know. Oh, also, while he was healing her, Kieran called her Castiel? I don't know how you pronounce his name. I'm going to call him Cass. But that's the name of the Dark One. And I had like a little inkling, that's a fun word, that he was the Dark One. But I wasn't sure. Because I know in the last clip I mentioned that I had thought they were the same person, but I didn't think so anymore. So I kept going back and forth. But now I know that he is, and I was not wrong. And it just makes things way more exciting. And it was just great. And then there was like a sex scene again. There's still more smut, which I was very surprised because she still is supposed to hate him. And I know she's drawn to him, but I really didn't think that she would give in and let it happen. But that was really interesting. And that's all that's really happened since I last saw you guys. I'm still loving it. The fact that I've spent my entire day off this week reading this book, I feel like says a lot. And I'm obsessed with it, and I can see why so many people keep talking about it, and I definitely can see why it's so hyped up. So I'm going to finish it, and I will see you guys when I am done. What a way to end the book. That was like such a good cliffhanger. So we just found out that Poppy is half at, oh gosh, I still can't pronounce it. Half of what Cass is. And then he kept talking about how their next step was to go home to his home, and we just found out why, and that's because you need both partners to stand on the soil there in order to get married, and he plans on marrying Poppy, I guess whether she wants to or not. So that'll be interesting, especially because she's still battling with whether or not she hates him or loves him, because at the moment she feels both very strongly. And I'm sure they're going to end up getting married because, you know, there's 2 more books, and I feel like that kind of has to happen, and I'm excited for it. But I want it to still be like an enemies to lovers. I want there to still be that struggle because she should hate him. He completely betrayed her, and a lot of the people she cared about died because of him and his plan. So she's right to hate him. But I also do want them to get married and, like, still love each other. But he's also very twisted, and, like, I don't know, my emotions are very conflicted. Like, I want them to be together, but I want it to take a while. But I loved it, and I definitely plan on rereading it, which is usually my criteria for giving a book 5 stars. I loved it, I couldn't put it down, I spent all day reading it, and I plan to reread it, and I'm going to go look at fan art and all this stuff. So definitely want to give it 5 stars. It's so good. And I really wish that I wasn't 9th in line for A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. What is that one? Just A Kingdom of Flesh? I don't know. I really wish I wasn't 9th in line for the sequel because I'm going to have to wait so long to get my hands on it. But thank you guys for coming along on this journey of me reading from Blood and Ash. I really enjoyed telling you guys what I was thinking because usually while I read, I either keep it all inside or I bother my fiance and I give him updates even though he has no idea what's going on and probably does not care. So it's fun for me to talk to you guys because I know most of you have read this book or at least you love to read, so it's kind of more fun to tell you guys. And if you have other thoughts or anything you want to add, let me know in the comments. I would love to talk to you guys about this book. I am definitely obsessed with it. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And if you do subscribe, click the notification bell so you know when I upload next. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in my next video.